Okay, is he supernatural or is he not? I need to know because this is starting to drive me crazy. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, we're back again, ready to review another movie and see exactly what makes it tick, or why it was even made in the first place. DeeJsee, a movie that came out in 2016, decided to throw drama, horror, and thrills all into a vat and just see what popped out. Scares were pretty good, and I guess the acting was also good, but beyond that, it didn't make much sense, surprisingly. That movie got a sequel. 4 years later, we're ready to tackle Brahms, The Boy 2. Once again directed by William Brent Bell, starring Katie Holmes. Where did Lauren Cohen and Rupert Evans go? Oh well. Ralph Ineson, Owain Yeoman, and Christopher Convery. Estimated to have taken place 4 years after the events of the original movie. A new family's moved in, so I guess it's time to cause some chaos. And this time, they've got their own son. Is this a worthy successor to a mediocre picture, or is it just as bad as its original? Let's find out. Kick it into the good. Taking it from its roots, the very first thing that you notice, the scares are just as subtle as the original. Good moments that impact very well. Honestly, because of how often I've seen it, I actually want to give this a title. We'll call them Hill House scares. If you have seen Haunting a Hill House, you'll know exactly what I mean. The subtlety of these Hill House scares are very good with what you're seeing. Person in the background, not knowing that they're there. No need for a violent outburst like cats screaming at the top of their voices. At times, it does a really good job at maintaining the scares and keeping it level. It definitely goes quicker as well. First one had a few slow moments, weren't really necessary or extended out further than what was needed. But at a runtime of 1 hour and 26 minutes, this is a whole 20 minutes shorter than its first one. Actually does help it. Not because you've got a quicker time to get the hell out of the movie. It says exactly what it needed to say, it didn't need to go any further than that. The acting chops from every single person that's in this is to be applauded. It did a really good job of being able to show different emotions and integrity what they were trying to play. With Katie Holmes, probably the first time I've actually seen her play this sort of a role. Get in touch with it and feel like this was a family that you were watching. Goes through hard times and difficult choices, manages to push through to the other side. Probably the best part that I can say is Christopher Convery. Now I can see him having a very long and fruitful career ahead of him. He conveys a different type of character that you wouldn't really expect to see in a horror film. When he's on screen, charged and powerful. Even through his subtlety, not really saying many words throughout this movie, it doesn't need to be said. All is shown in the expression and the looks that are on his face. The trailer really did this movie disjustice. But when I was actually watching this, I was happy to see that they went with something different. The CGI is slightly better, so it goes to show, despite time frame, you can definitely pick up a few things, but only slightly. And one thing that I forgot to mention from the first one, music and the ambiance had a good way of showing that the scares were real. That's exactly what this does too. The music is subtle and the sound design is on point. Moments where I was actually looking around behind me because I thought someone was actually whispering to me and it wasn't just the voices. Okay, I'm pretty sure they've shut up now. You have no idea whether what you're hearing is real or in the person's head. The start better than what the first was. So totally different. This is gonna be better than what I would have expected. But sadly, not by much. Alright, here's the thing. This franchise didn't make a lot of sense in the first place. To be honest, most of the stuff that I'm about to say is probably going to be leading into spoiler territory. So if you have any wish to watch this movie or the first one, then I would just skip to the timestamp here. Well, that out of the way, here we go. So it plays off a continuing storyline. We saw at the end the doors are open and the doll is being rebuilt by Brahms himself. When we cut into the new story, we realize the doll is still there. That's good. We've got the same house. That's fine. The doll now has a mind of its own. The real Brahms is apparently dead. And apparently this has been going on since the 1800s. What? The biggest problem that I had with this movie, no idea what it is doing. Same time was trying to insult its own fan base. Most of the stuff that happened in the first one, very different to the stuff that's happening now. He had no supernatural powers. He hadn't been living with anyone else. This doll had been there from the very beginning. Let's throw all that shit out the window. This happened in the 1800s. The doll has always been a supernatural force, conveying to every single kid that has been in its family to kill the other family members. Where was that in number 1? You can't just make up your own rules. Twist the story on its head. I feel like what they're going for here is Brahms 2 was really supposed to be the only movie that would be associated with the boy, which is why they should have just called it Brahms. Ways relating back to what happened in the first one, but are just brief snippets of the story. And characters that pop up that apparently have been there for so long that we're supposed to know exactly who they are and how they convey themselves in the story. The neighbor is the groundskeeper, the protector of these lands. He's trying to make sure that the evil that came out will never come out again. Then he turns out to be the bad guy. That's not a twist. He also apparently has his own history of him when he was a kid. Oh, so that means he's Brahms. No, he's just some random kid. But that doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't it have been smarter to make him Brahms? The exact same clip that they showed in number 1 of the doll being put back together. We thought that that was Brahms. Turns out it was just this random guy. You're probably thinking to yourself, that doesn't make any sense, but they do it. Brahms being stabbed, that was the last we saw of him, even though we clearly saw him get up and move back through the house. No, he's dead. There was all this groundskeeper doing all of this, enticing the new family, bringing this all together. This was supposed to happen all along. And these supernatural forces, what the hell did they come out of? Little snippets saying that apparently the doll was supposed to be supernatural throughout the first one. No, it had something to do with Brahms. That's all it had to do with. Now, it literally shows the doll's head being smashed once again to show a charred demon underneath. You see the logic that's coming out of here? No, that's because there isn't any. If this is the movie that they were trying to convey in the first place, why did they have to even name it The Boy? Set it as a side story of what this was. Or what we saw in number 1 was inside of the head of Lauren Cohen. Or Brahms was still alive and was the caretaker. We never saw his face. They could have just given a shave, put a cap on him, goes around the property making sure the next person that comes in might be the new holder of the doll. But no. Now that's all out of the way. The editing, sloppy. Cuts are weird and random at times. Don't understand why you saw the stuff that didn't work from the first one. Why did you repeat it? It didn't have 2 dream sequences this time. And at 4, you got weird plot points that just come out of nowhere. Cult plots that go nowhere. Apparently, if this was going for years, where's the evidence? You can't just pile it all into the second movie and say that this was happening for years and years and not relate back to what you did originally. Sloppy choices that looked like they really didn't need to show, minor mistakes that increase even further. And with all these bad things, there is something. It's better than the first. If the boy didn't exist, something else entirely. This is an okay horror film. It's not great, but okay. It has its moments that really grab you, has a lot of weaknesses that really push you away, but it's a horror movie. Tried a few other things, didn't fix the problems that it faced in the first place. Now, all I'm hoping for, he either listens to his fans and listens to the cult following that he has. Things that could have been. I would like to see this story more than I would like to see number 1 story. More depth and greater danger. We're comparing it to, say, chocolate. First one was an out-of-date piece of milk chocolate that just had a hint of salt. Something different, wasn't necessary, was okay in certain ways. And this new one, dark chocolate, with a chewy center in the middle, but is just about to hit its expiry. It pushed hard for its sequel, but forgetting what the first one was. But that's why Brahms, The Boy 2, gets... Now, I always like to end my reviews with a quote from the film, and my favorite quote was, I just think it's a little bit creepy. You know it when you see it. But that being said, did you see it? Will you see it? And if so, let me know in the comments. Until then, I've been DeeJsee, and always remember, did you see it? Alright, well, if the director and the writer and everything else wants to completely forget what they made, then so be it. But then there are those people who decide to make horror films that really capture something else, like True Terror, for instance, as if someone that's supposed to be there is just in your head.